Hey everybody, a happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are safe and you are with people who you care about and who care about you. It's been another very busy week here at Transport Evolved, and I have been doing all kinds of interesting, fun things that I don't normally get to do. Things like 3D modelling and building things and learning new stuff, new skills that I hadn't previously learned. It has been very informative, very fun. My ADHD side has glomped onto 3D modelling to the point that I'm waking up in the middle of the night and going, oh, I could go and tweak that thing on that thing I'm making, which is, I know it's not necessarily healthy, but that's how my brain works. And you get to see a video early next week about the things that I have been making and why I've been making them. So keep your peepers peeled for that one. And all of that has helped me avoid some of the really not cool stuff that's been happening in the news of late here in the US. And today's Sunday Musing is one that is tangentially related to everything going on in the US government right now, but in an unusual way. So if you live in California, for really quite a long time now, if you have an EV, you have been able to use the state's HOV lanes, the high occupancy vehicle lanes. And you've been able to use those as long as you have a special decal on your vehicle, even if you are the only person in that car. Now, HOV lanes are designed to reward people who have multiple people in the vehicle with them, and it rewards them by putting them in a lane that is supposedly less congested, can allow you to get where you're going a little bit more quickly, traditionally is less likely to have traffic jams in. And if you have an EV or another zero emission vehicle, you've been able to drive in the HOV lane without being fined, even if you are the only person in the vehicle, as long as you have one of those special decals on. So if I visit California in one of my EVs, none of my EVs have an HOV lane decal, so I cannot drive in the HOV lane on my own. But if you live in California and you have an EV registered in California, you've been able to do it up to this point. But later this year, the federal law that has a carve-out that allows California to implement this HOV perk for EV drivers goes away. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to US politics of late, but the current administration is not a fan of EVs. The current head of the US Environmental Protection Agency said this week, and please forgive me if I get the quote slightly wrong, but there's a whole new series of things that the EPA is trying to do, rolling back environmental protection, rolling back rules on pollution, eliminating some of them. And the head of the EPA basically said this will put a stake through the heart of the climate change religion. Just pausing for effect there, because that is the stupidest fudging thing that I've heard from somebody supposedly charged with keeping the environment safe. But anyway, Capitol Hill is unlikely to pass legislation that allows that carve out for California. And if that legislation is not kind of extended, then you will not be able to drive an EV in an HOV lane with the sticker in short time frame. I think it's the end of this year it comes in, it will cease to exist. And that means that EVs will be stuck in the same congestion hell as many other people in California. Now, California's attempts at tackling congestion have been pretty piss poor, to use a British term there. And I don't know how many of you watching have visited California, whether on holiday or just passing through for work. How many of you have driven in California, and how many of you actually live there? But whenever we go down to California, and obviously very often we drive, we nearly always drive these days because flying is not as pleasant or as safe for certain groups of people as it once was. And so we genuinely try to avoid flying whenever possible, and we will take an EV from the fleet and drive it down there. And whenever I have to drive in California, I always have to plan extra time, because even if I'm in an EV that I have borrowed from like a rental company that does have an EV HOV-lane sticker on it, it's still very difficult to get around, and it's still very difficult to do anything quickly because congestion is horrible in California, especially in the Bay Area and especially in Southern California. So today, I want to know from you how you would go about tackling congestion. It's a proven fact that congestion, especially from private vehicles, increases commute times for people. It increases pollution, and that in turn has negative effects on the health of the people who live in the area where people are passing through. While the current White House may not like it, it's scientifically proven that pollution and overuse of private gas guzzlers and SUVs tends to disproportionately affect traditionally disinvested communities of colour, communities who may be in a lower socioeconomic group compared to the people who are driving their massive SUVs along. And I'm not going to apologise for that. Facts are unfortunately that they are facts. You can't kind of pretend that those things aren't true when they are. So we need to tackle congestion, because the more congestion we have, the more pollution we have from commuting, the worse the health outcomes are, and the lower the quality of life for everyone. I don't know about you, but my idea of commuting in a car is something that I want to do as little as possible. One of my team lives and works a long way away from here and has to drive here regularly, and very often spends an hour to 2 hours per segment of their commute sitting in traffic. Now, luckily they're in an EV, so they're not kind of spewing poisonous gases into the atmosphere, but it's still not pleasant. And had we got a decent rail network here or a decent bus network, maybe they could take alternative methods of transit to get here. Maybe if Oregon implemented the lane splitting thing that they've been trying to do for years, maybe more people would ride motorbikes in Oregon. Maybe more people would commute on motorbikes. If you can lane split, the bugs are out. If you can lane split, your commute gets dramatically faster if you're on two wheels compared to being in a car. In the UK, I used to ride my admittedly very heavily polluting MZ two-stroke motorbike. I used to try and ride that whenever possible in the rush hour, because it took me less time to get where I needed to go than it would have if I had taken an EV or my Prius or any other vehicle that I had access to. And I think the same is true here in the US. If more people were able to cycle or take other two-wheel transport, I think probably we would solve a lot of our congestion woes. Of course, one way to deal with this all is to implement congestion charging. It's something that London has done now for over 20 years, coming up on 30 years since London started to implement the congestion charging. It is very controversial among some people. Some people like it. It has improved air quality in the centre of London. It has made London a more pleasant place to be as a tourist, but also as a resident. I lived in London during congestion charging and I loved it, especially when I spent a year. I lived in the square mile in the City of London for 1 year in the banking district. And at the weekend, because of the congestion charging zone, it was beautiful. And even on a Monday to Friday, on a work day, it was a lot better than it used to be prior to the congestion charging coming into effect. I know that the current dear leader of the US is trying to eliminate all congestion charging in the US and trying to get rid of any schemes that discourage people from using cars. But if we want to live around on this pale blue dot for extended periods of time, we do need to discourage people from using personal transit to get around and choose more appropriate travel. Invest in public transit. Invest in electrified public transit, trams, trolley buses, trains, and subsidise people to take those forms of transit as opposed to taking a personal car. Pick, if you will, a future where companies get tax breaks from the federal government for offering their staff discounted rail travel or discounted bus fares. Anything that encourages people to commute using alternative methods could be a tax write-off for the company that offers them. I think that would be a fantastic way of doing it. Obviously, that's unlikely to happen right now at this point in history. And if we can get ourselves out of this mess, maybe we will be able to see something like that in the future. But I would love to know in the down below how you would tackle congestion. Maybe you would tackle congestion by saying, okay, we're going to start charging people more to drive their cars on certain days. I know it's something that China has toyed with in the past and actually implemented for a while to try and reduce pollution. Slightly different motivation behind that. And obviously China has its own issues, not least the way it treats some of its citizens and ethnic groups. Frankly, that's abhorrent. But there has to be a way that we can build a framework that citizens can use to feel that there are better options than sitting in a car for 25 minutes to commute 10 miles, which unfortunately is how most people get to work every day. Let me know your thoughts in the down below, and I'll see you this time next week. Thanks for joining us today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord room, on our Patreon page, down below, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon or Blue Sky. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are part of the massive community of supporters who make this channel possible, helping us through Patreon and YouTube, helping us cover our bills, pay our team, and ensure that we remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. We've got options across a wide range of different price points from just $1.50 US per month. A massive welcome to our newest supporters: Dan Fitzsimmons, Yanni Mavro-Philippos, MB, Bruce McKean, Nitmir, Calvin Klein, Marek Kowalski, Dave Nelson, Chip Chandler, Ed Zavada, Alan Bassel, Tully, Ronald Blackman, Christian Ranson, Michelle Brennan, Scott Weber, Dal Same, Bob, Harry Lamb, Jeff Curtis, William Radke, SDS, Barry T, Shitkrat Chowdhury, Ernest Bruce, Matthew, Bill, and Sphinx Garden. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame, and you can even gift membership to someone else. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at for the time being, address listed below. You'll also find links to our swag store, and if you have someone who shops on Amazon, please consider asking them to use our affiliate link so we we get the commission rather than Jeff Bezos. So we can continue to focus on making our content even better and reduce creator burnout. We are being a little freer with our release days, but we plan on dropping new content every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on our main channel, plus something on Sunday over on Transport Evolved Take 2. If you want more, the mighty algorithm that hates us thinks you should be watching this video, but this video is one that we think you should check out. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and don't forget to resist. Keep evolving!